Yesterday we ended with talking about you going home and looking for evidence of erosion around you. So, who can think of a place that you've seen where erosion's happened? What are you thinking, Olivia?
There's this field beside our house, beside like this creek thing.
Uh-huh.
But one time I thought I saw a
Okay, probably so. All right, what are you thinking, Dylan?
blue hole.
Okay. Brayley? Okay. Caden?
Garden.
Okay, what do you mean about a garden?
Blue.
Okay. I want you, when you go outside this afternoon for recess, I want you to look by the first basketball court. Look toward the that little storage building that's there. I want you to look that way and see if you see evidence of erosion there. And Keith, do you have an idea?
I'm trying to remember what erosion is.
Okay. All right, so let's review real quick before we move on. We had 3 vocabulary words yesterday. Okay. One was weathering. What does weathering mean? What is weathering? Amy, what's weathering?
I know what it means, but I just can't.
Okay. So weathering is the process that happens that breaks down rocks into smaller pieces. So what are some things that can cause weathering? What can cause that to happen, Amy? Water. Okay, what's another one, Owen?
Air. Well, not air, wind.
Wind. Okay. Olivia?
Sand.
Okay, the sand comes from the rock breaking down. And sometimes it can cause other pieces to continue to weather away. All right, what else, Dylan?
Like a hurricane.
Okay, natural forces like hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, those type of things. All right, Brayley? Flowing rivers. Keith? Okay, after the snow melts, it could definitely, all that water rushing could definitely cause some weathering. So after the weathering occurs, the rocks have broken down into smaller pieces or even sand and dirt. What's the process called that takes those weathered pieces of rock away?
Erosion?
Erosion, exactly. Erosion is how that weathered rock is actually moved away. All right, so we looked yesterday quickly at the rate of erosion, which means how quickly or slowly erosion occurs. Do you think that there's different times and situations where erosion would happen quicker or slower, depending on what's going on? Okay. So, what do you think are some ways in which erosion occurs quickly? What would make erosion happen really fast? Give me an example of one, Brayley. Like calm wind? Really strong winds. Okay. Olivia?
Like a waterfall.
A waterfall. What are you thinking, Owen?
Natural forces.
Okay, like what?
Like hurricanes.
Hurricanes, tornadoes. Okay, definitely. What's something that would cause erosion to happen slowly? When would it happen slowly, Dylan?
Like from a pond.
Okay, some water that's not moving or moves very little. That would be a much slower process than a really fast flowing river or a waterfall. Caden, what's another time that erosion would happen slowly? Okay, just a heavy rain or a soft rain? Soft, slow, steady rain. Okay. What about, we mentioned wind earlier. What if the wind was just a light breeze? Would that happen quickly or slowly, Ansley? Slowly. Okay. So we've named some things that will affect how quickly or slowly erosion occurs. All right, we're not going to do this part right now. So we're going to move on to lesson 11. And in this lesson, we're going to look at some rocks in the Grand Canyon. And we're going to see if we can figure out how they've been changed by weathering and then moved by erosion. Okay. So here's a picture of some rapids that are in the Grand Canyon. So I want you to think for just a minute about those rock layers that we talked about. What are the newest rock layers? Where are those at, Dylan? The newest?
No, the top.
The newest ones are at the top. Where are the oldest rocks, Keith? At the bottom. Very good. All right. So, a couple questions before we go on. Was there always a canyon where the Grand Canyon is now?
No. We don't know.
We don't know for sure, but we know that based on the rock layers that it's definitely changed over time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think might have carved the canyon out of the rock? What are you thinking, Olivia? Okay, so what happened to make that weathering? What do you think it was that caused the weathering? Owen?
Maybe because there's a little bit of evidence that there was an ocean there. Maybe that ocean might have eventually started cutting a hole through the rocks.
Okay, very good thinking. Maybe it was the ocean. So we have definitely seen in the fossil layers that there's evidence that there's an ocean there. Do you think that the ocean would have caused it to quickly or slowly change?
Quickly.
Probably pretty quickly. Okay. So we can think about different things that have caused that canyon to carve out. What else besides maybe an ocean being there? What's there now that keeps changing the landscape of the Grand Canyon, Olivia?
The water.
Yeah, the Colorado River. Okay. So, if the river or other natural forces carved the canyon out of solid rock, a lot of weathered rock would be produced, wouldn't there? Look at that picture. If all that was solid rock at one point, and now it's not solid anymore, is it? There's a huge canyon there. What in the world happened to all that weathered rock? Where does it all go? What are you thinking, Olivia?
Maybe it went down the river farther.
Okay, farther down the river.
Maybe the
Okay.
ocean where a long time ago, like a long time ago, maybe it was way at the bottom of the ocean.
Okay, so you think eventually the river runs into the ocean and it probably is there at the bottom of the ocean now? All right. You have an idea, Owen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe eventually over time, all those rocks kept getting broken down until eventually there was nothing left.
Maybe so. But so where do you think that they went? That they just disappeared or? Okay, let's see. All right, you see, here's a picture of the area where the Grand Canyon is. See if I can get the highlight tool to work here. All right, right here, where that red dot is the Grand Canyon. You can see the Colorado River flowing through there. Here's the Grand Canyon, Colorado River. You can see how do we know where the Colorado River is? How do we know by looking at that map what is waterways, Olivia? The blue parts are water. So we've kind of made a prediction maybe that the weathered rock flowed down the river. Looking at that map that you see, do you think that Olivia's prediction might be right?
Maybe.
That it maybe flowed down the river and ended in the ocean? Isn't that what you said, Olivia? Okay. Does anybody have a different prediction before we go on? What are you thinking, Owen?
I mean, also maybe eventually they just kept going down the river and just kept going until somewhere else.
I think it connects into the ocean.
Okay, so maybe so. All right, what are you thinking, Dylan?
It connects into a different river.
Okay, so then what happens?
And then the different river probably leads into the ocean.
Okay, so you kind of agree with Olivia's theory? Okay. All right, so let's look. This is a satellite image of the Colorado River flowing into the Gulf of California. Okay, so this is the Gulf of California. If we go back to this map here, here's the Gulf of California down here in between those two pieces of land that are Mexico. You see it right there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the Gulf of California. If you trace the river, you can see that that's where it flows into. So let's look back at this satellite image.
I've heard of the Gulf of Mexico,
Okay.
but I've never heard of the Gulf of...
Well, the Gulf of California is a very small body of water in between those two pieces of land. All right, so based on this photograph, where's the sediment? What does the sediment mean? What is sediment? We didn't talk about that vocabulary word
I
earlier.
was about to say...
We talked about weathering is the process of breaking down the rocks. Erosion is it moving. And sediment is when that weathered rock and soil settles in a new place. When it's moved to another place, it becomes sediment. So looking at that picture, where's the sediment at?
Probably at the bottom of the Gulf of California. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see where it looks around the banks of the river? It looks a little different. There's different coloring.
I was trying to keep all Earths, not to say the Gulf of Mexico. Because I knew it was...
So let's compare really quickly. Let's compare weathering and erosion. What's the difference between those two things? Caden, what's the difference in weathering and erosion? What is weathering? No, not necessarily. It's not moving, it's breaking down when they get broken down into the smaller pieces. Erosion is moving them. Weathering is the process that happens that breaks them down. And then erosion is those broken down pieces actually being moved. All right, we're going to stop right there for now.